Okay, thank you, Professor Song. I'm Tae-Eun Song, assistant. I'm so delighted to be here to address cybersecurity policy of South Korea, which has been dramatically changing recently, and share my thoughts with the cybersecurity experts from the like-minded democratic countries with high-profile cybersecurity capability. Actually, in my title, I did not use the word middle power because South Korea and especially Australia are not middle power in terms of cyber national power, I think. So we are the major powers in this area of cybersecurity. Okay. My presentation consists of 4 parts. First, I will quickly touch a current cybersecurity environment that ultimately contributes to the fundamental changes of cybersecurity policy of South Korea, which is the second part of my presentation. And thirdly, I will also discuss what South Korea has to decide in order to fully use its offensive cyber power. And lastly, I'd like to suggest several agendas for South Korean government for cybersecurity cooperation that I want my government to pursue as its Indo-Pacific strategy. As you see from this slide, today's cybersecurity environment is going through dramatic changes because of 2 main variables. First, international politics, and second, development of technology. First of all, because of today's increased cyber threat is a geopolitical and geo-economic competition between different political blocs. Also, Russia-Ukraine war and war in the Middle East have severely affected global cybersecurity because these 2 wars were accompanied by severe cyber warfare, which also has activated hacktivism and serious cyber crimes. Secondly, the problem of cyber inequity, the technology gap between developed and developing countries is rapidly widening, and hackers of poor cyber capabilities get the help of AI and generative AI in searching their targetable attacks and vulnerabilities of the target system, which means that AI can design and automate their cyber attacks. So therefore, small and medium-sized enterprise with poor cyber capabilities are easy victims of such high-tech cyber attacks. These 2 situations are terribly weakening resilience of the entire cyber ecosystem. Then who are the attackers, or what countries are the origins of cyber threats? Recently, University of Oxford and UNSW Canberra, that's a university located in Australia, jointly worked together and published World Cybercrime Index. And they call it cybercrime, but in terms of war between Russia and Ukraine and war in the Middle East, actually it's the cyber threat, we can say. As you see from this slide, the number 1 is Russia, and second is Ukraine. And third is China, and the 4th is the US. This ranking obviously shows how severe the level of cyber warfare between Russia and Ukraine, and I'm sure that Ukraine will become a cyber superpower after this war, I think. Iran is number 11, and Israel is 16, which shows also the severity of cyber warfare in the Middle East, but it's a little bit lower than that of East Europe. North Korea is number 7, which also shows how intense North Korea's attacks are. Actually, in cyberspace, 2 Koreas are at war. So here, one thing is really noticeable. Except India, there is no democratic attackers in the Indo-Pacific region. South Korea, Japan, and Australia, we are not really interested in attacks from this slide, as you see. So rather, our cyber capabilities are focused on defense. So we do not have global level hacker groups in our territory. Obviously, as you see from this slide is from Microsoft. If you look at each region, the number one target of cyber attacks are Ukraine in Europe, Israel in the Middle East, and North Africa, and Korea in Asia Pacific. So most of attacks on South Korea is from North Korea. However, number one country who gets most of DDoS attacks and ransomware and malware attacks is the US. And recently, the biggest target of North Korean cyber attack is the US, not South Korea right now. As you see from this slide, today, malware attacks is old school method of attack. Now, RAS, ransomware as a service, or cybercrime as a service is getting popular. Operators, they sell their attack software in dark web. And hacker groups can purchase such kind of software packages whenever they want. So this means, do you want to attack? We can buy such a crime service from the dark web. So this situation is severely affecting cybercrime ecosystem. So which is much more destructive because of increased scale and speed of entire cyber attacks. Okay. One of the first notable thing in our new national cybersecurity strategy announced in the beginning of this year was our emphasis of a political identity as a liberal democracy that supports values of freedom, human rights, the rule of law in cyberspace that authoritarianism regimes do not like. So also this new strategy, like other cyber powers, shows our willingness to play a greater role for global cyber security. Our new cybersecurity basic plan was issued last month, and I'd like to highlight the fact that this plan proclaims to accomplish 100 action plans by 14 ministries. This is truly whole government approach, maybe not a nation, whole nation approach, but among all of the plans, offensive defense stands out because in the previous government, we do not have such a concept or expression of offense. So this means in the past, we did not take any countermeasures against North Korea's cyber attacks. So also this plan states our willingness to tackle state-sponsored disinformation campaign and influence operations. And this is our government's very significant first statement that our cybersecurity policy includes the agenda of fighting against disinformation campaign as a cybersecurity issue. I think this is a very smart approach because today, all of this disinformation campaign is conducted in cyberspace by using AI. So this is obviously a cybersecurity and technology issue. In general, we all know that active defense means hack back, right? You should be able to hack the device of attacker. But our offensive defense is not yet, the hunt for all type of active defense yet, not yet. South Korean government did not decide whether we will conduct joint operation of a hackback like hunt for all with the US. Time is short and our enemies move fast. So South Korea has very good offensive capabilities, but this power was not fully used we are wasting our power. Why? We need a legal and institutional framework for joint operation with the US. So if the benefit of joining exceeds the cost, and if we want trust and full coalition for the same destiny with the US, we have to choose that benefit of joining operation, like a hunt for. As you see from this slide, according to MIT Technology Review, cyber capability of South Korea ranked number 3rd, and Australia is the number 1 country here. And according to Lowy Institute, they measure South Korea's cyber capability at number 4. So we have very good cyber capabilities. And the very first center of Harvard University, they gave us a really bit lower score. In 2022, we ranked number 7. This is not showing that actually, you cannot find in South Korea in 2020, but this is not showing that our capabilities suddenly developed. This means our power was actually hidden and veiled. But our ability was unveiled when, in a series of joint bilateral and multinational cyber exercise with other countries like US, UK, Netherlands, and NATO, many other countries recently. As you see from this slide, South Korea, we have offensive capability, but we have not, we don't really have that intention of using that power in the past, but it will be changing in the future. In the Pacific region, South Korea is the number 1 democratic country with highest cyber capability, but in contrast, Australia has more intention to use its power. This is why Australia gets higher score than South Korea has. So this means intention to use cyber power is very, very important when we measure the cyber capability of a specific country. If you look at this slide closely, most of Indo-Pacific democratic countries have not really used their destructive cyber power. I think this is a serious problem when we face all of destructive challenges coming from China, North Korea, and Russia. I feel threatened by the size of China and Russia. If you look at this, their size is really, really big. And this picture gives us messages of why we like-minded countries should cooperate and fight together. So I'm gonna skip this slide because already Dr. Vitrani explained this. My last slide, I strongly recommend our government to pursue joining hunt for operations with the US, and together with the US develop a signature exercise, let's call it Indo-Pacific Cyber Defense Exercise, in which all of the like-minded democratic countries can participate, and also private sectors of South Korea and the US, we need to more actively cooperate for joint operation. Meta, Google, Microsoft are warriors at a cyber front. They are now, I think, a defense industry. So why don't we seek a regularized cyber defense exercise that includes space operations and tackle disinformation campaign and TTX with AUKUS and Quad and among IP4, I have a typing error here, IP4. We together may, establish Indo-Pacific Information Fusion Center and Strategic Communication Center, and for joining, for joint efforts of monitoring cyberspace and sharing threat information and joint operation tackling attackers. Thank you for listening. Thank you.